Welcome to How to Stay Married, ... So far, we haven't done one of these for ages.
Not
we're literally...
so far, brackets so far.
I thought it was ...
No, it's brackets.
Oh, I don't like that.
Parenthesis.
I thought it was ...
So far, as in no question mark. There isn't even a question mark.
I don't know.
Oh God, we're analysing the very concept of this bloody podcast.
Whenever I talk to anyone about this podcast, I say how to stay married ... so far, because that's what I always thought it was. That's
how to stay married brackets so far.
Mark, we agreed on a ...
Oh my God, here we go straight away. We haven't done one of these for a while,
and the dogs are running around under the table making a racket.
Why is your camera so low?
Don't even talk about it. I've got a problem with my selfie stick.
Are you fully in shot?
I'm a bit nervous because I keep thinking it's going to fly off this phone.
It could fly off. It could fly. Okay, so sorry, listeners. This is a visual discussion at the moment.
Because we do also put this podcast up on our YouTube channel, the Sawalha-Adderleys, if you want to see us in our full glory.
It's almost like the 3D version of an oral nightmare. Oral as in the AU of the ear. Stop being so suggestive.
It's terrible that they say oral, that it sounds the same. Oral and oral.
Well, it's oral and oral.
Oral.
I think we should do a whole How to Stay Married about the oral sense of self. Okay, so what we're talking about today, Mr. Wiley, you sent me this article a while back, and I didn't know whether it was a hint or a clue as to how you were feeling.
Which one is it? I send you so many bloody articles. Which one is it?
It's called The Happy Marriage Tricks Anyone Can Learn.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, I can't remember what it said now. What did it say?
Well, more importantly, really, than all the gumph that they write about, which you read and you go, well, that's not applicable to me. Here are 10, it discusses 10 signs that your marriage needs a shake-up.
Oh, God, I was talking to Maddie about this yesterday.
Were you? What were you saying? Oh, right, okay, well, that was interesting. That was a conversational cul-de-sac. For anyone just listening, she just stared at me. The most silent I've known Nadia Sawalha in years.
Well, because I was trying to think what I would say. Maddie's our 18-year-old, by the way, because we were talking about infidelity.
Right.
And we were talking about, and she was saying it's a complete no-brainer for her. Infidelity would be the end of a relationship.
Right.
And I said, well, it's funny how that changes as you get older, because when I was your age, I would have been the same. But when you get older, and we've talked about this in other podcasts, there's a lot of other things that come into play. Like, you know, a friend of mine years ago whose partner had an affair, and this person was very upset at the time, but eventually admitted and was able to forgive and move on, because they said, do you know what? We'd really been neglecting our marriage. Right. And who's to say that if I hadn't been put in a similar position, that I wouldn't have been vulnerable to you know, doing something I shouldn't. And I thought, and I said, so then I was talking about, you know, you're young and you're in your relationship and it's all fresh and it's all, but a big part of a relationship over decades is keeping it fresh, but not to the point where you can't have intimacy. So you don't want to be dolled up like a dog's dinner every night. Like some people, there's some husbands demand that. Do you know that?
Demand it?
Yeah.
What do you mean demand it? Or
well, there are some people that there's
a
low-lying threat that
That's
if you're not, you know, looking a certain way and behaving in a certain way, they may well stray.
Oh, I see. I thought you were going to say they may well stray. What kind of a land do you live in? Neanderthal land? Who do you know?
But anyway, so I was just talking about how over decades, she's young, she's not had a relationship over decades yet, how, you know, things can slip where you can take each other for granted. And it's very difficult to, what's the line of real intimacy where we're really comfortable with somebody and you can just be exactly who you are, or crossing over the line. I don't even want to say take advantage, because that's taken for granted, because even that is sort of bigger than it is, I think. I think you can just get too comfortable. And even when I say that, I say, too comfortable? Can you get too comfortable? I think never making the effort with the way that you look.
Are you running through the list now?
No, I'm just...
within each of these sentences, there's probably a whole podcast to be had.
All right, shall I shut up?
Well, no. Well, one of the number one things that they say is you're running on autopilot, and a lot of what you're saying kind of tickles the edge of this.
Let's go through them. That's probably a much better way to do it.
It's easy for long-term relationships to shift into a default mode after years of sharing a life. You know, so I think, you know, in terms of autopilot, I don't think we do go on autopilot, actually. I think we, personally, I think we are quite attentive to the directions or change of directions we either individually want to go in, or as a couple or as a family want to go in. So, for example, you know, when we discuss moving house, say, or wanting to move to the country, neither one of us balks at the idea of that. In terms of, yes, it's a mission, it's somewhere we'd like to go. Or if there's a sudden work reversal or a shift in, like me taking this course, there's a support in that. There's an understanding, you know, it could be quite a lurch to the left or a lurch to the right. I think if you're an autopilot, you just wouldn't even look for those choices. You'd just be trudging along. And
I think we both get excited for each other with the possibilities of what we can still do. And I think that's good. And I think, to be able to change, I think... So if you were to say what's on auto, one of the big dangers, I think, where the lines can get blurred between what's intimacy and what's too comfortable, is the way that couples can take the piss out of each other. Right. And you can get to a place where you're talking to each other in the way that you would in a sibling situation. Right. And you can demean each other without even knowing it. You know, this is what I was saying to Maddie yesterday. I was saying, so say you've been in a relationship for a while and, you know, your partner comes in, you go, oh, God, well, look at the state of you. Jeez, well, dear God, have you never... And you're sort of talking in that way. And it's it's comfortable with each other. And yet somebody else could look at your partner and go, oh, how cute, and he's all muddy when he comes back from football.
Well, yeah, it's like me with stubble. Yeah, I mean, so many people on our various social media platforms say, "Oh, we don't mind stubble." Or I know so many people in my life that I've been with who don't mind stubble. So when you see me with stubble, you see a man in a state of disarray. He looks homeless. He looks like he doesn't attend to himself or care for himself. You begin to look crazed and demonic. Those are some of the words that you've used about it. But I just think, oh, this is quite a nice look. For a huge number of men, this is quite a nice look.
Yeah, but I don't like it. It's quite a good example. Like, I don't like it. Yeah. It's like, say I was somebody that had really thick underarm hair and I liked it and I didn't think there was any problem with it. And I felt quite politicised about it. Yeah. And you said to me, I know, I get all of that, but for me, I just don't like it. Yeah. I would shave it off.
Would you?
Not if you told me to, not if you said it was a deal breaker, but I would respect that.
Yeah, which is why I ultimately shave.
It's like if I came to you and said, right, I want my head shaved and peroxide, and you went, oh, I don't think I'd like that. I wouldn't see that as controlling behaviour. I wouldn't say, well, tough, I'm doing it, because you've got to look at me a whole lot more than I've got to look at you.
Well, like when you came in with your straightened hair, if you'd come in and said, I want to straighten my hair, I would have gone to extraordinary lengths to tell you not to do it. Not actually because of but I'd have said, I've never known someone look so hideously different in all my life.
Hideous? That's a bit of a
No, I didn't say you looked hideous. I said hideously
different.
Well,
hideous is incorporated in the sentence.
Hideous as in the shock of it was just, it's so not you. And please advise whoever did it to never do it again.
Well, it's just a bit of fun. I hate my hair straightened.
I know it's a bit of fun, but it's a good example.
But it is an example. But the thing is, you do sometimes go unshaven, and I always say it to you, but for me, you being unshaven makes me think about your mental health, because you never look happy when you're unshaven, and then you get a rash, and then you get more depressed, and then for me, it's like a trigger of what's to come. So, but you now respect that after very many years of our relationship, and you do actually do something about it, and you say, okay, I'll go and shave, and even though you don't want to, you do it. But where that wouldn't work in a marriage, where it would be taken for granted, and it would be, we've crossed the line where we don't care at all about what each other think, would be like, tough, I don't want to shave. I'm only going to shave if I go out. That would be what we're talking about here, I think.
Yeah. I mean, is autopilot about the sort of routine and humdrum nature of a relationship? Because there is a lot that's humdrum about a relationship. When you live together, you just have to do the boring shit, the driving, the cooking, the taking out the dustbin. I mean, is that autopilot, or is autopilot more about emotional awareness of each other?
Well, I think it can be right across anything. I think, you can shuffle down in the morning, not say hello to each other, not ask the other one if they'd like a cup of tea, not ask... And I
That's a good example, because you pulled me up on that many years ago, and I every time I wake up, I strive to think about how I present myself to you. And it doesn't mean I always succeed, because some days I'm really struggling. But on the vast majority of days, I will come in and go, oh, hi, good morning. And I think you're right. I think that was a period of time where I was in autopilot.
Yeah, it was. You were in your mental health unwellness. And it was very, very difficult for me because, and I know there will be a listener here or a watcher here that identifies with this, that knot in your stomach when you hear your partner get up and you think, what face am I going to get when they come down the stairs? And then what I would do is, because I'm naturally, I know I'm very, very annoying to live with, because the morning I'm the most energized. I'm a morning person. I'm the happiest. And I fade through the day. Whereas you're the other way round. You start like that and then you fade, and then you liven up towards the evening. But yeah, so that's very much an example. People coming in and not really saying hello when they, I think that's the autopilot. You know, one person may have been at home with the kids doing a part-time job, cleaning the house, getting the dinner ready. And I'm not saying this is the woman, it could be either. And then the person that's been out working comes home, maybe has had a shit journey, maybe had an argument with someone at the tube, and they've had just a bad day. And then you walk in and you grunt at the person you live with, instead of thinking, could I reach out to the person I live with? People get too awkward with each other to say, oh, can I just sit down and have a moan and a cup of tea like you might with your friend? Do you know what? I'd love to have a moan.
But sometimes it's quite hard. I mean, for instance, you know, I also see autopilot as kind of not considering or entertaining doing things differently, perhaps, you know, and I think one of their things is about, you know, not doing the same date every single time, you know, thinking about going dancing or thinking of, you know, going to, I don't know.
No, I mean, I remember that when every single date of ours had to be Yo Sushi, to the point where I thought that you had some sort of a problem. You were married to a foodie. I kept saying I didn't like Yo Sushi, but it was like locked in.
Oh, right.
You get very locked into certain places.
Like autopilot.
So every single date we went on, Mark, don't even try and argue with me. That's the way it was. And I used to say to you, why don't we go to a nice restaurant?
No, you
let's just go to Yo Sushi.
And you still do that now.
Fucking hell. Cold rice on a stool again.
Okay, well, on that note, let's move on. That once cute, number 2 is that once cute, quirky habit now annoys you. Now,
this is a good one.
Oh, this is a good one. Now, on that note,
go on, give me the ones that annoy you.
Well, no. I mean, the one that I think annoys you about me now.
No, you've got to say something that annoys you about
quirky,
me.
Your sort of slapdash, sort of come through a door, everything's thrown in the air, was exciting. It was kind of a breath of fresh air. It was like, oh God, where are we going to end up? What's going to happen here? What's going to be said full of stories?
Now I really annoy you when I
No.
You say to me, is this going to be long? It really breaks my heart when you do that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like when I first start telling you a story, because I do tend to get a bit excited about things. If I go out and something happens, I get really,
no.
And you can see him giving up the will to live.
I suppose sometimes it's when you're telling me something new that I already know, and I don't know how to...
Oh, but maybe that's autopilot. Because nobody really knows what somebody else is going to say. And I think that's a fault that we all do. We assume what our partner is going to say. And sometimes I'll rush to the store, or I'll lose. The difference is, right, now this might sound a bit big-headed, but I don't mean it to be. It's just fact. If I go in with any other person and tell a story, I'm quite a good storyteller, come from a long line of storytellers. People will be really listening to me, like at makeup, they say, we love it when you come in and tell one of your long stories. But you're the only person that doesn't like my stories.
Because it tends to railroad any other story out the way. And because you remind me of Annie, the musical, you're like a precocious child sometimes who isn't actually being precocious, but you're so excited by your story, it kind of steamrollers anyone else's.
Yeah, but if somebody's coming in and telling a story, if you've come in from your day and you're telling a story, surely you're allowed to tell your story.
Yeah, but on that note,
why don't I just come in and say, what's your story
quite the opposite.
first?
When I go out and I come in, and this isn't a criticism, but we're just talking openly, you don't ask anything because you've always got your own story.
Right. Right,
hang
this
on,
podcast will come to an end. If you do this, if you telling me I never ask you about...
Not really.
Mark.
Not true.
Take it back.
No, I'm not.
Mark.
Your face.
Mark.
It's a little bit... We've talked about this in relationship to other people. And it'll come, but it'll never be the first thing.
Mark. That is, you're making yourself look like a 2-year-old. Do not say that. Sometimes when you come in, when you've been out to see a film or something, I might be engaged with the girls here and I don't immediately sit down and ask you everything about your evening. But I always ask you. I always...
Eventually. You do eventually. But this is an important distinction. I know that there are many scenarios in which when I come in, whatever I've done in my day will take second best to what's going on in the house. Whereas when you walk in, hang on, the entire house is overwhelmed by your arrival. It's true. It's true. If we're watching a film, it goes on pause. But if you're watching a film, it's like, wait a second, and you get to the end of it.
Maybe, I don't know.
It is
true.
Well,
I will watch that then. If that's the case, I will watch that.
So that's an example
I
of
didn't
something
know I did that, but to say
I
never ask you isn't fair.
No. As I just said, you do eventually, but it is secondary to whatever's going on in the house when I come in. You do that a lot. You hold your hand up because often there's an intimate conversation happening. There's something going on. But if it's something benign like watching telly or eating something, I have to wait. I have to pause before I can truly share in what's going on. And then what sometimes happens is what's going on in the house, I'll get drawn into and it happens. And then I realise by the end of the evening, I thought, oh, I haven't actually talked about what I've done. And that's fine. But that part of you that I used to like, which was the, but I've arrived.
You don't like it?
No, it's not that I don't like it. What I feel is carried within it is the idea of, well, as long as it's all about you, it's all about you, and that's fine. But actually, sometimes there's other stories to be told. But these are the questions. This is what we're talking about. So what's a quirky thing that you used to find quirky about me?
Everything you just said is very, very fucking annoying. You total arse.
See, you make me laugh.
Oh my God. Yeah, when you come in, don't ask me straight away.
That's not how I said it. You just admitted it. You just said.
No, I didn't. I said I would think about it.
Oh, right. And you thought about it and it's over. Okay, I like that. No, I'd have thought that something that you used to find quirky about me was...
But you don't come in excited. You're not an excited person.
Forget that. Let's part that
hang on a minute.
Hang
on a minute. Because what annoys you about me is I get overexcited, and that was something you used to like about me, and now you don't. Because now you see it. Now you see it as me wanting all the attention, rather than me just.
You do want the attention in a nice way. I don't mean it in a sort of I want the attention.
No, I don't think it's about having my.
You like an audience.
I don't think it's about having attention. I think it's about wanting to tell you about something that I'm excited about. If that's getting attention.
Well, the fact that you've put it like that means I will readdress how I approach that, because I won't view it as you kind of just occupying the space. I'll see it as this is actually her enthusiastic about something, which is how I used to see it. And on autopilot, you start not to see it. It's about who's occupying the most time here. And who's
that's
owning
what's so
the most
awful,
time.
Isn't it? And that's what's so awful is that people outside of your marriage are often a lot more interested in what you've got to say than people within the marriage.
Yeah.
That goes to the nub of what we're saying here. If I tell a story to one of my friends that I would tell you and give exactly the amount of time to, they'll be like laughing and interested, but it makes me sad to think that you see it as me wanting to just get attention.
No, but I don't see it like
sad.
that. But I don't see it like that all the time. We wouldn't get on as well as we did if I didn't find you deeply entertaining and a lot of what you talk about very interesting. We're talking about, we're finding stuff that I find irritating about you now.
No, I hear it. Yeah. I hear it, and I'm saying that must be horrible. Like, I feel horrible that that's how you feel about it.
But I don't feel like that all the time about it.
No, but you do a lot of the time, because I see it march across your face. You lose colour, Mark.
So what
you actually go green when I'm talking.
What quirky thing about me did you used to like that you now don't like? My over-analytical brain, I would have thought, is one of them.
I think that I do find, I think
the
overthinking, the nth degree, the never letting anything go, the obsessive overthinking, and sometimes the rigidity is difficult because it's just, you won't see. Like sometimes when Maddie says, Dad, because we all know you're super smart. She goes, Dad, are you like being stupid on purpose? When you go, I don't understand. I don't understand. And it will always be something so minuscule. But I've read about people that are very, very clever are like this. They can be very stupid in actual life. And sometimes in actual life, you're really like, I don't understand. Yeah. And you panic because you don't understand, but it's something really simple.
You see, I thought...
And it's like, that's willfully not understanding. Whereas I just genuinely don't understand.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think you're
I'm much stupider than you.
Fair.
No, but it is true, darling. Listen.
Listener, she isn't by far... No. She's far from a stupid person.
No, I didn't say I'm a stupid person. I said I'm stupider than you in a lot of areas, let's say.
Well,
but you're very knowledgeable.
We all have blind sides, as I'm learning in my counselling course. We all have, blind sides and hidden sides are very different things. I sometimes think that the thing that you did like about me was bringing all these different things to our, like art and culture and...
No, I love all that.
Yeah, no, but what I'm going to say... But what I sense now is that it's almost a symptom of my ADD, and like I'm coming with too much stuff, and sometimes and sometimes you'll say to me, "Oh, you expect me to remember," and I'm like, I don't actually expect you to remember anything. But
No, you do. No, you do. You get very irritable with
dates, directors.
No, you get very irritable with people when they don't keep up with what you're saying. So we can be talking about something, and say if you're talking about an idea that you've got for something you're writing, and then because your brain works in the way it does, and I love your brain. But sometimes it can be, if I'm honest, very exhausting, because we'll go off on this way and then off on that way and then and then it's like, and then you will keep talking about it, and it's like there's only so many things I can say because I don't know what else to say about this topic. Right. And then I'm left a bit like, God, I feel like I've really let him down now because I couldn't think of 50 million other things to say because your brain is going, shh.
Yeah.
But I do think there's an intellectual disparity between us. You are far more, you are far more intellectual than I am. I'm a lot smarter in other things than you are, and vice versa. And we have our brain differences. And I think our brain differences are sometimes a challenge for each one of us.
So sorry, my alarm went, and what a stupid thing to have on your phone that it cuts your
Okay,
video.
move on to the next one.
Okay.
Maybe we were talking too much.
You finish each other's sentences, and another way I think of repurposing that sentence would be to say, you write the script. And I know that I fall foul of that, but I also think you fall foul of it in smaller areas.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're going to say now.
Yeah, exactly. I think I do it in the grander scheme of things, which can then serve me, and I'm acknowledging this, that then serves my paranoia, whatever my scabby edge of my mental health is that day. I can allow myself writing the bad script to feed that sense of self-loathing and sabotage and everything, and that must drive you nuts, I'm sure. But equally, we both finish each other. We both think we know what the other one's going to say.
But again, this is hard, isn't it? Because all of that stuff you just spoke about there is definitely you self-harming. It's like you will write the script of you will write the worst case scenario in your head and then apply it to me, which is different from finishing off each other's sentences and getting to know each other, or thinking that you know each other so well that those two things are different. And I think... Yeah, again, I think that's hard because you do get to really know someone. You really know me and I really know you. And there's some shit that you'll know about me that I won't recognise in myself, and vice versa. And that is kind of good and bad in equal measure. Because surely that familiarity that comes over time is part of what is the good thing about a long relationship.
I think where it gets really bad is when it happens in a public realm. So if you're sat at the dining table, or if you're sat amongst people, and you can see, I've sat with couples where you can see them finishing each other's sentences, saying what they think the other one's going to say, or cross-talking, interrupting because they're sick of hearing the same thing they've heard before, because they know how their partner, not in terms of a story, but in terms of how their partner's going to react, or how their partner's going to, make a gaffe or make a mistake. And so I think finishing each other's sentences is less about talking as one and being on the same page. It's quite the opposite. It's about presuming a familiarity and a sort of bored predictability to what's going to be said about something. I don't know if we do it that much. I know I do it, as I say, in the grander scheme of things. And I do think there are times when we are in a social situation where I think we do turn off a little bit when the other one's talking. So in that sense, I miss that.
But
I would love us to
also
still,
think-
hang on, I'd love us to still be in that place where
You hang
if
on
we're
every
all,
word.
no, not hang on every word, but where we're sat in a group, we value each other as
I
much
do
as we
you.
would a
I do.
group.
I love it when you're talking about. I don't see you enough in a social situation.
That's true. Yeah.
That's my problem. When do I ever see you in a social situation?
Yeah.
And often when you are in a social situation, you're a bit uncomfortable because you're shy. You're an introverted extrovert who can't any longer have a glass of wine like every other fucker does to loosen up. So I'm really aware that is really difficult for you. Yeah. But I love seeing you talk to other people, especially when you're in yourself and you're not overworking it, because sometimes your shyness makes you overwork it, and then I feel tense because I think he doesn't need to do that. It's like I was saying to Lisa the other day, it's my friend Lisa, there isn't a situation or a conversation that I can imagine Mark having that he wouldn't be totally comfortable with and know so much about. And yet so often in a social situation, you're feeling like you're having to make up for yourself.
Well, because I find so many other people just can't be asked to make the headway.
I think sometimes that's your own stick that you make for yourself because you create a wall between yourself. No, I've
been in many situations, and I don't want to go off on a tangent about why one drinks and all that. There are many situations where I elect, because you encourage me to not be a people pleaser, and when I'm not a people pleaser, no one else fucking people pleases, so I go back
but
to
maybe your idea of the social thing is a bit skewed. It's like, it's, for instance, sometimes when you're panicking when something is quiet and you think you've got to fill the gap, people are enjoying the gap. And you take it upon yourself that you've got to, oh my God, nobody's talking, I've got to talk. And actually people may be thinking, isn't it a shame Mark doesn't sit in this minute, in this
Well, there
moment.
are a few people in my life I can sit totally quiet with.
But those that you can't don't necessarily want you to fill it.
Yeah, no,
That's
I'm sure
the
they
thing.
don't.
But I love being in a social situation with you, and I love listening to your stories, and I love how you know about everything. Whatever anything comes up,
I have an opinion on everything.
Just say something nice to
Okay, sorry.
Fucking annoying.
Sorry. Okay. Well, it's very hard. No one wants to be
Every
told.
time I say you're smart, this is okay. You go, that goes, that. It's horrible. I'm paying you a compliment. You never hear it. That's one of the things that's really fucking annoying. Okay. I pay you compliments every single day about the way you look. I would say, oh, you look great. Oh, that's a lovely top. Oh, you're really slim. Oh, I can really feel you dead. And it's just like I haven't spoken. And that's autopilot. Because if I was a new girl that you fancied, you'd be hearing every word I said and you'd be going to bed thinking about it.
True. Sorry, I'm looking at the clock only because I have a homeopathic appointment in 10 minutes. So just reading some of the other of these 10, our conversation is infinitely more interesting than what they've written underneath these categories. And our entire conversation has intercepted so many. So, for example, you get caught up in the same cycles. What's that? That's autopilot. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of similar.
Well, no, I think maybe what that means, but if we take that off onto a different one, this rule, this kind of like unwritten rule that a couple will argue about the same 5 things throughout their relationship. Right. So I think maybe that's what that's referring to. And that is a cycle that is so fucking annoying that you can't break. And I think nothing crumbles the foundations of a relationship like that. If you're the,
it's like gum disease.
Because because everybody in a partnership will have that thing that they feel like they've said over and over and over and over and over again, and it doesn't change. So they've stopped saying it, or they row about it over and over again. I mean, I can think of certain friends of mine that are always rowing about the same things with their partner. They'll say it to me and I'll go, that's the same row.
But often, I think
we're the same.
And I think the reason we don't think we're having the same rows is that, like a proxy war, we attach the same row to a proxy distraction. So something in the kitchen will end up being about the same thing.
And that's why people say, oh, I forgot what we were even arguing about. Because what they were arguing about, like you say, was a proxy war, and there was something actually deeply embedded that wasn't sorted out before.
No, I agree.
So I think that's
well, that's for another chat, is it? What our cycles are. Date night hasn't changed for the last 5 years. Well, you know what? I kind of got a bit funny about this. There's only so many things you can do.
Did you get a bit funny about... Mark, you look maniacal.
Did I?
Yeah. I got a bit funny about this.
Sorry, it's because we did
It's a bit chicken.
Yeah, we had a conversation this morning on our channel about something else. It got me fired up. You know, there are certain activities you can do. There's restaurants you can go to. You could, if I suddenly said to you, let's go fucking skinny dipping in Hampstead Ponds.
Oh my God, I've always wanted to do that.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. There's our next date. What, really? Skinny dipping in Hampstead Ponds? Okay.
Not now.
Oh,
not
no,
in November.
It's going to snow.
But I had asked to go wild swimming the whole of the summer. I kept saying, I'd love to go wild swimming. So if you had surprised me with a wild swimming event, I would have loved it.
We're going to have to...
I always want to be by the sea.
Yes.
So I would love to just, like I've said to you quite a few times, should we just go off to the beach today just for a walk? No.
Yeah.
Like I've said, let's just get out of the park and just go a little bit out and go for a nice walk with the dog. No. So these are all things that is not a possibility for us to have as a date.
And also the mistake I make, and it's quite a literal mistake that I think a lot of men make, maybe, I don't know, is that a date happens between 6 and midnight. I know. I mean, a date could be a date day, it could be a date breakfast.
Well, that is more difficult because you've got kids, you've got school, you've got work. So it's stressful doing a day date. But I do think...
Well, the weekend, is it? Although we're working, or is it the weekend?
I do think...
Yeah.
I think I've given you lots of pointers. I think, if I'm really honest, most of our dates, and I hate to bring it back up, through the times when we're going for dates, was Yosushi in the cinema. I would say probably 99 out of 100.
Right. Okay.
And it got to the point where I just felt embarrassed to say anything else because it was like, everything, you just don't see the point of it. You go, oh God, well, what would we do? You know, you're one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a bit like your granddad like that. Do you remember when your nana was used to say, she'd say to Gordy, let's go for a walk, and he'd go, what's the point?
Well, no, she would say, what's the point?
No, he'd say, what's the point?
No, she'd say, she never saw the point of walking.
Oh, no, she wanted to go to a cafe, that was it.
She never saw
the point of walking. If she went for a walk, she wanted to go to a cafe
What's the point of walking for walking's sake?
Right, that's right. She wanted to have a cafe at the end of it. But he would only go for a walk if he came back and had a cup of tea at the house.
Exactly. Well, look, there's lots more to be talked about here. I can't even begin to open the can of worms that is the last three. So perhaps we do a part 2. You've let yourselves go. You've become each other's punching bags. You complain about each other behind other people's backs, and you've stopped listening to each other. I mean, there's an entire podcast in those 4 categories.
You work very hard on yourself, 5 days a week. Joe Wicks, you're always like, you've got, you always make an effort now with your clothes. You had some times when you were just really depressed, but you really do. I need to make more of an effort. I try and keep myself healthy and mentally healthy and all of that. But I definitely think I shouldn't be wearing big baggy sweatshirts as much as I do.
No.
I would say that I'm very lax. Like, I've had a whisker growing out of my mole for quite a long time. I said to Maddie, for instance, the other day, Daddy said to me, are you going to take that whisker out of your mole? And I was like, I don't know.
You.
No, I wasn't fuck you. But
you looked fuck you when I said it.
I was like, I don't know. But then I thought, I asked you to shave, so why can't I take my whisker out?
The other day you said, are you going to have a shave? And I said, are you?
That was it.
So anyway, on that note, we will finish. There we go. I've just seen a headline come in saying man savaged by crocodile. My God, imagine that.
We don't need that now.